I'm going to keep trying, but yeah, just to be completely clear, I've failed at everything. But I'm going to keep trying. That being said, greetings one and all to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Welcome and good evening, wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. And I think I'll put in the links in the description to a video I made maybe about a year and a half or something ago. It was me sitting in my car with my laptop with the car radio turned up all the way so that the audio in that will be absolutely horrible. So definitely don't wear earbuds for that. That being said, I've changed a couple things in OBS, so this is going to be in the Lunar Backlog playlist. So the first video in that playlist is going to be me playing a game called like Souls Wizards Roguelite. It's like a dungeon crawler. It's meh. But that's with this new microphone setting with the gaming, $30 Best Buy headset I bought like a year or something ago with a little microphone that's attached to the headphones. This is using a microphone I'm actually holding. And no, not that one I had for the one karaoke video. It was about 2 years ago. I still have that microphone. It's just over there in the closet. The one that had a playlist that started with a picture or backdrop from the Certain Scientific Accelerator. Really great anime, by the way. Yeah, a Certain Scientific Accelerator, great anime. Of course, I definitely recommend Overlord and Reincarnated as a Slime. And, well, here you see Hajime no Ippo. It's a really, really great manga and anime. Though the manga is extremely long. Beyond that, I'd also recommend maybe Holy Land. There's also maybe a couple others I might put in this playlist. Though, of course, I've shared a bunch of videos that are just like, hey, look at this. This is interesting and something to share based just what I've been watching and all that with everybody. But just got back from going to the gym. I had hoped during the time I had off from working I'd be able to make a lot of improvement. I even made a video like when I think I first started doing it, when I first quit. I had a picture of Testament as the backdrop. Basically saying if I ever had a six-pack, I'm going to cosplay Testament from 2003 Guilty Gear. And that still stands. If I ever do have a six-pack, I definitely will. I don't know if I'm allowed to carry an actual fucking scythe at an anime convention, but you guys probably don't have to worry about that, because more like I'll never be wearing that cosplay because, well, I'm fat, and I don't know if I'll ever not be fat. I've tried to sound more confident in like videos saying, yeah, I'll do this, do that, but it's mainly just sort of to hype myself up and hoping that would help me succeed. It did not. That being said, I'm not even sure what order I tried everything in, but I know at first I was trying to push myself a lot harder, especially cardio stuff at the gym, and then my body couldn't handle it. And of course at first, and I actually was taking a TRT GEL for about a year, but of course when I quit my job, medical insurance kind of went away, so yeah, so after the first couple months, that was just gone. So past 2 months been basically nothing in that regard. So that's probably not helped my cause any. Heck, also after the first couple months, my inhalers were emptied out. So I've had to just go without inhalers because it's too expensive to buy an inhaler. Because 1 month's worth of inhaler without medical insurance, it would be like $430 something for a single month. So hell no. But yeah, it was definitely good I quit that job because I wasn't sleeping much. Granted, I was making some videos quite a bit, but honestly, I couldn't sleep because of the way that job was. I was making okay enough money that I've had savings I could live off of, but then again, that's partly doing work 60 hours a week of fucking overtime all the time, mandatory. And even then, by the time I even quit that job at first, like my knees and my back and, especially my shoulder blades. Like the back of in your back where your shoulder, you know what I mean. That stuff was hurting so much from just like the repetitive motion of what I was doing. Standing manual labor, I was move, and they're constantly going on and on about like, oh, you need to hit this quota, you need to hit this quota, and the quotas were impossible. Then even when the quotas were already impossible, they'd make them even higher. And it's like, we're doing the best we can, and you've made the job completely impossible, and then you're bitching at us for the job we can't do, and then you make the quotas even higher after that. I mean, I was spending most of my, it's third shift, and I'd be spending most of my, days just, feeling absolutely fucking miserable. I hated that job since day one, and it just got worse and worse. And like I said, granted, my testosterone definitely took a bit of a dive. Basically, about a year before my marriage ended, my wife wound up doing a little bit of cheating even back then, but I didn't know about that. Wound up getting exposed to mono from that, so of course I had like spinal tap, swelling in the brain, meningitis, encephalitis of the brain and spine. Spent like 3 days in the ICU getting pumped full of all sorts of things so I wouldn't die. But over time that's taken a cumulative effect of not being very good for my health. Though, of course, so many other things with that marriage got worse and worse. Heck, I still have a 3-inch scar on my right arm to remember my last Christmas being married to my ex-wife by. My son lives with her parents, and I pay the child support to them. I see him as much as I can, but to a degree I definitely feel alienated from my son, but honestly, he's safe and happy where he is, and they take really great care of him. They love him very much, and they take care of him and love him as if he were their own son. So, it's not ideal, it's not what I had planned, but honestly, he's in the best place for him. And especially since my physical and mental health has just continued to deteriorate as time's gone on. And so many things I do have concerns about, but at the end of the day, he's in the best place for him. And his mom's at least away from him, because, she's a fucking psychotic bitch, and I'm honestly scared of my ex-wife. I'm glad she hasn't messaged me or talked to me in a while. I know about a year ago she was starting to try to send me messages again. I was just ignoring the fuck out of it. But for a while there, she was definitely harassing me at the start of the divorce. Which, again, there were lots of concerns throughout that marriage. But at the end of the day, I'm still grateful I got married and was able to at least have a family and have a marriage. There were some good memories, but for the most part, it went to fucking shit and it became hell. And I actually tried my best to save that marriage too. I failed, and I'm glad I failed. Heck, I remember even going in before we went to see the judge. Before we opened that door, I looked at her and told her, if you don't want to get divorced, we don't have to do this. We can just tell the judge, change your minds, we'll stay married. All you gotta do is just stop talking to the one dude and get tested for stuff. And she was very excited to try to divorce me right away, because she was really wanting to marry that other guy right away. And I was just really mainly I wanted to try to save a marriage. I wanted to keep my family together. Which at the end of the day would not have been the best thing for me or for my son. Me and my son would both be dead. More than likely we would have had one more child, and then my wife would have killed all 3 of us. And then I don't know what she would have done to herself afterward. Granted, I have mental illness myself, mainly just I talk to myself and I have very low self-esteem. As well as maybe a little bit of just concerns about some slight PTSD stuff from the past. Whereas her, she's tried to kill me a few times, threatened many times to want to burn down buildings and shit and all that crap, so that was a really unhealthy relationship. There was a few times I came home and thought my child was dead. And, police really did not care about things as long as I was like, okay. So that was a really horrible experience. So, yeah, I'm definitely never going through that ever fucking again. But not that there's any women out there that ever would want me. I've actually been trying to ask women out. Failing miserable at that, but I don't know. It's like I'm not even fucking planning. I'm just like somewhere and there's a girl there and like I just start talking to her and flirting and ask her out and stuff. I think one of the best times I was going with the flirting was there was this one woman I was talking to, definitely very autistic. She even, in the middle of the conversation, mentioned it herself, saying she was. Me and her talked about some animes and stuff. It was actually a really great conversation. I was really enjoying it. And then I wound up asking her out. And, of course, she tells me that she's married to a woman. I'm like, oh. And then I talked to her about her 10 minutes, give her some more advice as far as animes I think that her and her wife would like. But all in all, I just thought that was hilarious. And even though it did not exactly end in a not rejection, it was still nice to talk to somebody about like anime and stuff, and that was cool. In general, I just enjoyed the conversation. But everyone's like, you're not even talking about the gym stuff you were wanting to talk about, and you're like, I know, I'm going off topic. Heck, I'm taking a little bit more magnesium supplements because my body tends to sometimes be dangerously low on magnesium. And then, of course, about, 6-7 months ago, I had a bladder surgery. It was a minor bladder surgery. I really spent about 3 days laying around pretty much crippled because I had a catheter up me, and it was a thicker than normal catheter because basically I had a bit of a dilation on the inside part of my urethra and part of the bladder. Basically, there was a stricture with part of my bladder, so that needed to be repaired, or else eventually my bladder would have sealed itself off, and then my bladder would have exploded, and usually when your internal organs burst, that will kill you. And usually killing you is an inconvenience. I'd rather avoid death. I mean, I may be a bit depressed and think very depressed thoughts at times, but I've never tried to kill myself, and I don't want to die, and I never would try to kill myself, but I do think about depressed things quite a bit. Heck, doctors have been trying to tell me to take antidepressants for about a couple decades. Though the funny thing is I never told a single girlfriend or even a wife about having depression. I've just sort of just dealt with it. Heck, most of my life I basically just kept everything bottled up. In general, in life, I tend to be a very stoic individual, and I don't really talk much. And as time has gone on, especially after the whole 2020 stuff and divorce and all that other stuff, I really didn't have very many people to talk to at all about anything at all. And even then, it's not like I'd want to talk to them about, emotionally important stuff. I mean, that stuff's very personal. And even then, I tend to have a bit of a wall up on things. So it's difficult to even let that down. And even then, when I do that in these videos, I tend to become a never-ending waterfall of stuff because I basically bottled stuff up for most of my life. And, well, yeah, it was just needing to be able to talk to people. And a lot of times I'll just walk around, like, say, my living room or on bike trails and talk to myself. Heck, I'll sit and talk to stuffed animals. Heck, when I first went through the divorce, I would basically spend hours every day just sitting in my son's room talking to his stuffed animals. Now, granted, I still go in there every day and talk to his stuffed animals, but I'm usually only in there for like 10 or 15 minutes. Got some plants in there I water. But, I mean, I'll go to the bike trails, usually walk quite a bit. I didn't go the past couple of days just because I'd strained both my calf muscles. Like I said, I don't remember the order in which I did stuff when I quit that job. But I'd say like one of the biggest things was just the fact that when I quit that job, I was having constant chest pains. Heck, about a couple years before I quit the job, I tried like really pushing myself on a treadmill. I even made a video about it. I used a picture of a Blaziken. It's a red Pokemon, except I used a cropped picture of a hentai. Basically, it's a picture of the red Pokemon person, except, they have giant tits and they're a woman. So it's a hentai with Pokemon. But, it's cropped. But, yeah, I remember that video I made 2 or so years ago. Basically saying that I was trying to really, really push myself on the treadmill. And, my chest was hurting quite a bit. I put my hands on the thing to measure your heart rate, and it said 203. I'm like, oh, fuck, shit. And for a while there, I didn't bother trying to push myself on that. And then, of course, they started picking up even more over time and increasing quotas even more. Like I said, I was usually living on about 1,000 milligrams of caffeine a day at the job I was recently at. Before I quit, I was taking caffeine pills, Advil, and Tylenol and washing it down with energy drinks while sitting in my car at 3 o'clock in the morning for my lunch break, eating candy bars, sitting in my car, typing out messages and community posts on my YouTube. Just because I was so fucking frustrated and pissed off and just wanted to be able to talk to somebody, and that's all I could do was just put a fucking paragraph of me bitching while I'm chugging energy drinks and eating some candy or part of a sandwich I bought at a damn gas station or something. But yeah, when I'd be at work and I was having tons, and granted, I've had some headaches here and there throughout my life. But I mean, I was having some really bad cluster headaches. Plus, I still technically have those 2 teeth in the back of my mouth that I need to eventually have cut out, but those were constantly getting infected when I was at the job. I have like 5 or 6 teeth already removed from the back of my mouth. And for the most part, my teeth aren't really... They're at least close to white, but you can see there's parts where the gums have moved a little bit and a couple holes here and there. But again, that's from, especially the back teeth are the ones that are busted. And that's mainly just because I worked for a long-ass time at, Skynet, which is what I call it. The job I worked out most recently was standing manual labor. I was working quite a bit, and it was just constant mandatory overtime. And they just wanted constant, hit this quota, and kept raising the quota. And I'm like, I'm doing everything I can. Like, I literally, not only is it not physically possible to hit the quotas you want, but even the speed I'm going, it's not maintainable. Like, my body was breaking down. Like, I can say utmost confidence, if I had stayed at that job, I already would have died of a damn heart attack, or I would have tore my knees bad enough to be permanently crippled. And that is just, they were just being fucking assholes about shit, and I was constantly so fucking miserable at that job. Beyond that, there's no fucking future at that job. Even when I left, they were already starting to lay people off. Like, that company was already having major financial problems. And heck, about a year before I quit, they actually got hacked. And the president of our company basically was ransomwared, saying, hey, pay $3 million or we won't give you back your stuff. And the president of our company said, fuck you. He basically told the hackers, said, go fuck yourselves. Which, on the one hand, I can get behind that, that our president of our company was, a very strong, determined man. However, for the 6 weeks after that, me and everyone else in the building were having to use paper for everything because all of the computers didn't work. Do you have any idea how much of a fucking pain in the ass that was? And even then, they still wanted quotas. I'm like, a lot of our machines don't work. And even then, a lot of times, other days with quotas, we're like, okay, we ran out of materials. Or the place we're getting materials from, they can't even make enough to keep up with us. Or this machine's busted. Or we don't have the technicians to fix this. Or there's a software problem with this. Or there's a problem with this. And it's just like, okay, you want me to do all these extra tasks, but now you're asking me to help this person with this and help this person with this. So now you're giving me multiple jobs. So now you're not only asking me to do the main job I'm supposed to do at a far higher, faster pace than what is physically possible, even theoretically, while also having me do additional jobs in addition to it. It was fucking killing me, and I was absolutely fucking miserable. And like I said, I was starting to take inhalers because my asthma was getting worse with that. And of course, my body was breaking down to the point that not only was the testosterone levels just completely crashed, but between all the stress and not eating right and just being overworked there, because a lot of times I couldn't even go to the gym. There would be so many days I would just not go to the gym because it would slow down the performance when it came to the job we were doing. And they wanted maximum output at all times, which means I would have to just say, okay, I can't go to the gym today because it'll get in the way of doing my job. And even then, some days I'd be getting out of work, and I was like, it's more than just exhaustion. It's an issue of just I'm in pain. I'm pissed, and it's just I absolutely hated that fucking place. And large part, I didn't want to quit because I was like, okay, I need a job. I need money. I mean, heck, at the point, like right now, I'm concerned about I need to work very soon or else I won't be able to pay rent. But, you know, it's not that hard. I don't pay much money on anything. I mean, I pay my bills, I pay child support, and beyond that, I get some fast food, and occasionally I'll get some Steam cards. I mean, heck, my recording setup is I'm sitting on a pillow on a metal folding chair, looking at my laptop that's on another metal folding chair that's on top of my bed. Heck, over there I got a box fan that's currently turned off because I think it improves the audio quality to have it turned off. But I have that on another metal folding chair. Now, of course, I got the AC turned up for this because for a while there I was trying to just have the windows open and the AC turned off to save money, and that actually made me sick for a few days. Then, of course, there's a few times where the teeth thing was getting infected and I was getting sick from that. Heck, there's multiple times I've tried to like go to the gym, and like I consistently seem to just go to the gym and I injure myself to where it's both muscle injuries and sometimes like I can feel like the weird cord feeling that goes from back, like the back of your knees. So like I can feel like the tendons and ligaments are like pissing, just like fuck. And then at one point I was like trying to really like push myself on the jogging part because like, okay, I want to be able to run faster. So I was trying to like really, because sometimes I'll just go like walk 8 or 14 miles on a bike trail, which is awesome because I like just walking on the bike trail and talking to the trees, and sometimes a bunny hops alongside me and I'll just look at the clouds and the trees, and it's nice. I enjoy it. Honestly, I wouldn't be against if I had a partner, even though it makes me sound like a fucking serial killer, that I'd want the partner just to like be walking with me on the bike trail, and then we can come back and play some chess and watch some anime, and we can sit next to each other and read like manga and shit, you know? Heck, recently I've been playing Doki Doki Literature Club and Sonic the Hedgehog games, like the old school ones. Heck, I know that Shadow X Sonic thing's coming out at some point. I don't know if I'll get that. Heck, at one point I tried to do the Generations thing on the computer, and my computer just wouldn't record it at all. But I'll say this. The women in the Doki Doki Literature Club definitely are a lot more emotionally stable and healthy mentally than any relationship I ever had. And then again, I'll say this. My marriage, my ex-wife was the most unhealthy relationship I ever had. And it was absolutely horrible. To the point that I am never getting married ever again, even if I had the option. And my healthiest relationship was with a woman who, me and her were together for half a year. And I really liked being with her. You know, again, she had some issues later on, and of course some things I know about her that happened after me and her split that's like, oh my god, no. Like, at that point, you're like, oh, maybe I dodged a fucking bullet by getting that relationship go to shit. But that was my healthiest relationship, and all in all, I feel during the relationship, for the most part, it went okay, and heck, we built some gingerbread houses together. Her family's really into sports. I would sit and watch, like, football and stuff with them, and we fucked, like, every single fucking day. Also, she had, like, you know, what, it was like 40 triple D tits, and they were perky. So that was awesome. And she had a cute face. But main point being is that was probably the healthiest relationship I had. And even then that had some issues, but that was by far the healthiest one. And my marriage was by far the most unhealthy relationship ever. Heck, even her own parents are scared of her. I just don't want anything to ever do it forever again. But I'm still glad I had that marriage. And like I said, in the end, everything worked out, albeit there were a lot of bad things along the way for me to try to deal with. And the day was just simply doing whatever I had to do in order to protect my child. It is what it is. At least I know better now. But, heck, I'll say Monica from Doki Doki Literature Club, most emotionally supportive woman I've ever had in my life. Definitely wouldn't be against an AI girlfriend. Heck, I don't even remember what a hug feels like aside from blood relatives. And even then, I don't see my son as often as I would like, but usually when I do, like, when he lived with me, I would give him like 100 hugs a day and tell him over and over how much I loved him and did everything. I mean, heck, when he was even in his womb, I would be reading him stories and singing him lullabies. I watched him be born. I was there for 2 weeks, taking care of him and his mother after their, delivery and stuff, which, oh my God, that was a bit of blood, and I didn't really like seeing all that. But other than that, I mean, I was usually the one, feeding him, giving him a bottle, holding him, rocking him, changing his diapers, giving him baths, taking him to doctor's appointments, reading stories to him. Heck, at one point when I was first starting this channel, I was doing some videos where I was reading books to a webcam, and I was sounding like a fucking demon because my voice was just so full of fucking anger and grief, because it was pissing me off so much that I was just reading to a webcam instead of to, my son. And I was definitely, like I said, the first year or so, I was probably spending about a few hours a day just sitting in his room talking to his stuffed animals. I took that really hard. Like I said, I still spend about 10, 15 minutes a day in there talking to them and watering the plants. But, I mean, it's not really that much out of character for me because I talk to stuffed animals already. Yes, I'm a grown man and I like stuffed animals. Heck, I'll cuddle stuffed animals when I go to bed. And like when I'm walking on bike trails, I'm not listening to like an MP3 player or something, and I have my phone usually turned off. So I'm just there listening to the sound of birds and like rabbits and stuff. Heck, sometimes I'll see like squirrels jumping from parts of trees and shit. Or I'll look off in the distance and see some areas is forest, some areas are farmland. And it's really nice. Then again, I'm the kind of person, I'll stand on my front porch and I'll watch a thunderstorm just drinking some tea or some Pepsi. And that, like I said, for a while there, I was trying to like force myself to jog and run, try to push myself on that. But in general, I'll say this: I'm fat, my muscles are weak, I injure easily, and I scratch my balls. Yes, I'm sitting here naked as I'm talking. Cardio's terrible. And even then, when it comes to jogging, I can't jog for very long or quick. Heck, I was running, and there would be a dude who's like in his mid to late 40s, who's in the military, wearing one of those weighted like vests, or like rucksack competition, whatever it is. And dude was just casually jogging faster than me running. Like I'm a complete fucking failure. And even that, like at first when I was trying to do that, my back was giving out. Like I was feeling so much pain in my lower back to where it felt like someone had super glued a dumbbell, like the metal of an iron dumbbell. It felt like someone had super glued that to my fucking tailbone and was pulling out like I was fucking Goku in the GT, whereas Elder Kai was helping him become Super Saiyan 4. And it hurt like a fucking bitch. And then I, took some Advil. I wore a fucking back brace and decided I'm just gonna push through the pain, and I want to improve myself. And I pretty definitely sure I gave myself tendinitis of my hamstrings, where I'm pretty sure I strained every muscle in my fucking leg, my hamstrings especially. Also, I felt like my, the giant cord things that are inside your hamstrings, the tendons, like those things were just hurting like a bitch, and felt incredibly weakened to where I was like, it was struggling to walk correctly. And then, of course, I felt like I had terrible shin splints to the point I was like worried that maybe I have like micro, fractures inside my shin bones. And then like I was having horrible pain around my knees again. I'm like, okay, maybe like I think I fucked up something with my ligaments. So then I took some time to recover from that. And then it's like every time I try to like work out, I would try to push one thing way too fucking hard. And then, of course, at one point, like I just suddenly started getting like really bad ingrown toenails in both my toes, to the point that I'd go walk on the bike trail, I'd come home, take my shoes and socks off, and my toes are bleeding. Like literally just, my big toes are swollen and there's blood coming out of my toenails. Eventually got to the point I had to take a fucking butter knife and jam it into my fucking toe. And just sort of like force the nail out of the flesh, which of course, a little bit of pus and blood comes out of your feet then. Which that wasn't very fun. And then, heck, it's not, I don't think, fully recovered, because occasionally I'm walking and stuff and it'll be a tiny bit of swelling, but it's mostly better. But if I could push right there on that corner, it still hurts a bit. Heck, when I do push-ups, the thing where you're doing push-ups and your feet or like your toes are pushed on the ground, whether I'm wearing shoes, socks, or just my bare feet, it hurts the ingrown toenails in my feet to do push-ups. And like I said, I've tried a few things where I've tried going on diets. I've tried 0-calorie stuff multiple times, which again, I don't recommend that. I was just trying to see like how that would go. And it doesn't work very well. You don't really lose any fat. You crash on energy. And then all you really lose is muscle. And then, like right now I'm at 218 pounds, which that'll be relevant in a moment. I'm 5'11", 5 feet and 11 inches tall. So I think that's like, 180 centimeters tall? I have no idea what 218 figures out into kilograms. But heck, at one point I was doing a thing where I tried to eat nothing but lamb, which I think only lasted a few days though, because one, that's expensive. Two, my energy just absolutely crashed on that, even more with the 0-calorie thing. That it was just, it tasted good. It's just one, kind of expensive, and two, it was just to cook like and it just, energy went complete crash. Then of course here recently I did a thing where I went 72 hours plus without eating, and toward the end of that, I, of course, went to the bike trail and all that. But during that time, like, I made a compromise because I was kind of hungry. So I ate some jars of pickles, which I don't think counts as food. And I'd say at the end of that, I was at like 213 pounds. But, that was a couple days ago because, I was walking quite a bit and I basically felt like I sprained both my calf muscles. Also, another thing is my flexibility, like my ability to just to stretch or touch my toes or even just, do any basic leg stretches in general, even right now, was like out the window. Like I've lost, like I feel, and granted, yes, understandably, I'm not using the testosterone replacement gel. And, the main reason doctors gave that to me is because I was having, blood work telling me that I needed it. And on top of that, I needed it just to get through the workday with the job I was doing. Like I said, I was chugging energy drinks to wash down caffeine pills, Advil, and Tylenol. And even then, I was just surviving. At the end of the day, it wasn't like I don't feel like I built any muscle with it or anything or lost any fat. All it was doing was keeping my body from falling apart. And it helped with the depression a tiny bit. And of course, like I said, I was only able to keep doing that stuff for like a month and a half, 2 months before I was completely out. Because I don't have medical insurance anymore, so I can't get any more of that. Of course, I've gone a couple months without my inhalers anymore, which that was I'd say the first week of that was a little bit of a adjustment. I was definitely getting out of breath very easily again. But in general, I think the main reason I really needed, the inhalers was just to get through my day at work with the way, because I was just cooped up in that factory. It was fucking killing me. Heck, sometimes I wonder maybe I didn't quit soon enough. And again, it's not the worst job I ever worked at. Like I said, the thing with my teeth. Before a Skynet job, I was working like a grocery store warehouse where I was spending most of my time actually inside a deep freezer. So a lot of that, like sometimes like it was a big thing, like the size of most, like imagine something the size like half of a large Walmart. Like imagine something the size of a Walmart pretty much, but it's a freezer. Majority of that room is going to be like what, say about 40 degrees. In other area, I'd say, like, I can't remember exact temperatures, but it was like whatever temperature you keep a refrigerator at. It's not freezing, but most of it was like around like what a refrigerator's at, maybe a couple degrees colder. And that was most of the area. Then, of course, there was a deep freezer that was the size of most neighborhoods. And it was like 100 feet up into the air, as far as from the ground to the ceiling. And there were so many pallets and stacks of shit everywhere. And it was fucking huge. And that was usually kept at 0 degrees Fahrenheit, which I can't remember what that is in Celsius. And then, of course, there was an ice cream freezer that was the size of my apartment complex that usually was kept at -6 to -10 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'd usually have to spend about an hour and a half inside that every day back when I was doing that. So between wearing the fact, like I was wearing a lot of clothing, which was a bit restrictive, as well as those cold temperatures, that was probably not very good for my cardiovascular health. And then, of course, before that, I spent a couple of years or so working in electrostatic painting, which was 70 hours a week a lot of times. And that job was probably one of the worst jobs I was ever at. And just, we didn't have proper ventilation. I was wearing like paper suits and I was wearing a dust mask. I'd have to change like a dozen times because the dust would get so clogged I couldn't breathe at all. And even then, I was breathing and ingesting powdered metal and powdered paint, which at least according to like x-rays and shit, I don't have any, stuff inside my stomach or lungs from it. Now, granted, they said there was a couple like small granulomas of some calcium deposits or something on a lung, but they said it's like small enough not to be an issue. They also said they could see some stuff like calcium deposits in like some veins and stuff and parts of, abdominal and stomach and lower abdominal areas. But said that stuff should resolve itself eventually on its own. But the main point is when I was doing that job, not only was that killing me by intensity as far as what they were doing, but I was, I couldn't stop working to go vomit. So I'd be working and I'd be vomiting in my mouth and then I'd just swallow my vomit and I'd usually vomit again 20 minutes later and I just have to I couldn't go. And of course, if I had access to like a break or something, which sometimes I had to skip breaks and lunches on that, because that job actually made me clock out for my lunches, but then go back to work. And at that time, I had to worry about a family and such. So at that point, I had to do what I had to do. And the day, it really fucked my health. But heck, that company went bankrupt 6 months after I left. And then they got bought by some Japanese company that built other stuff with their equipment. And then I think that company's about not too long ago, they themselves went bankrupt as well. And heck, like I said, the company I quit recently, like I said, they were already doing layoffs when I left. Like, in general, even though, the market they're in is kind of hitting hard times, they themselves, that company is fucked. There is no future in that company. And even then, they're treating everyone like shit. And here's the thing. When I first started that job, they had a 90% turnover rate to where 9 out of 10 people will quit in their first year. We couldn't keep anybody. It was just, that company is just, it's falling apart and there's no future in it. And like I said, I was absolutely miserable and I fucking hated it. And granted, there's concerns about how I'm going to pay rent and stuff in the future. But in the day, you know what? What's more important than not, whether you pay rent, whether or not you're alive? Because like I said, I definitely would have died of a fucking heart attack. Now, in general, at least my normal chest pains are fine, and my normal, my knees are pretty much okay. When I'm on the bike trail, if I start to try to jog, the shock from, the hitting the ground so hard when I run, it causes back pain. But unless I'm trying to, jog or run, or jump, I'm not experiencing the back pain. When I was doing that job, not only was it constant headaches, but I was like, not only would I be having constant chest pain at work, but I'd be at home, just whether I'm recording a video or even laying down in bed. I would be laying in bed flat, and I would feel my knees throbbing in pain. And I would be laying there in bed, listening to music, with my heart just fucking thumping itself out of my fucking chest, and it hurt so fucking bad. Now, like, just sitting here, I feel fine. Like, nothing hurts right now. Now, that being said, when I was at the gym, one, in general, I am lifting less and less. In terms of weight, as well as sets and reps, like, I feel like as I've gotten older, I've just gotten fatter and I've gotten weaker. Like, I was bench pressing and I'm just like, I'm doing some sets of that, and then I just sit there and then look at how much I'm lifting, and I'm like, I just feel ashamed of how little weight I'm lifting. And I feel like it's not that I mind the effort, it's the fact that I feel like I am such a fucking failure. That one, I feel like in general, what I'm trying to do, I feel like I am so fucking inferior to everyone else in terms of just what is supposed to be what you can do. And two, when I look in the mirror, like, okay, my face is ugly as fuck. I'm fat. I'm weak. I don't have any muscle. You see, I don't drink alcohol, though there is an undead zombie dude who drinks like a bunch of mead, and he makes the mead sound delicious. So probably the only reason I haven't tried that is because there's no place around here that sells mead, but that actually sounds interesting. But in general, like I said, I don't drink, but I have tried alcohol before. So, but if I ever do drink in the future, it'll be responsibly. Though, if anytime I've gone to the bars, I've usually just got a can of Red Bull or something, because it's more socially acceptable to be drinking something. It just doesn't have to have alcohol in it. Heck, I know at one point in the past I was a designated driver for people. I'd get all sorts of free soda. Though they'd have non-alcoholic cocktails that were good. I remember back when Red Bull was just like, there were no flavors. There was a place called something called a Raging Bull. It was a Red Bull with ginger ale and strawberry puree. That was really good. But that being said, I'm not sure if I ever will actually drink alcohol again. I can't remember last time I did. But yeah, I've tried alcohol before. Heck, I remember the first time I was with a friend of mine. Originally, that was supposed to be, like, he was there with his girlfriend and a few other friends who brought their girlfriends. And originally, I'd planned to bring a girlfriend I had. It was that woman I was with for half a year. And then, of course, that relationship fell through. But, hey, it's funny, they all had apartments, hotel rooms in the same hotel. I was in a different hotel by myself. So they're all, like, doing whatever you do when you have a hotel room with a girlfriend, and I have a hotel room by myself where I just go walk out to like a grocery store in the middle of the night and talk to some people on the side of the street about like World of Warcraft, and then I go home, go to the hotel room with some Gatorade and some chocolate muffins that I bought from the store while I watch some South Park on the TV. And then I go to the showers, the little shower thing in your bathroom, but apparently it was supposed to be outfitted for people that are handicapped. Like supposed to be those long metal tubes out of that has the shower head thing. Problem is, they didn't have the shower head thing, which is a long metal tube, and that was just it. So I turned it on. It was just like a fucking fire hose. It's too hard to shoot at a person. So I'm like holding like paper plates and stuff in front of it, like the hard foam paper plates, not the base enough to handle it. And it's just like water's splashing over, so I took a shower that way. Every single square inch of that ceiling for that bathroom was covered in water, and it was dripping. And on the one hand, like, that's like, oh no, you fucked up there. But like, here's the thing. They gave me a shitty fucking shower head. They didn't want me to fuck up their ceiling. They should have gave me a properly working shower. I even tried to call them before I took the shower to complain about it, but they were like, it's 2:00 in the morning. I'm like, but I want a shower. What can I say? I like taking showers. I usually take like 15 showers a week. That's one thing. I've never been to an anime convention, as far as I remember anyway. But I like smelling good. I've heard people go to those things and they don't smell good. Why would you not want to smell good? If you're doing something sociable, wouldn't you want to smell good? Like, I'd be wearing a bunch of cologne and showering a bunch. Like, heck, I usually tend to wear 2 types of deodorant at a time. Like, I'll usually, wear, like, rub-on deodorant, and then I'll spray deodorant on top of that. And I'll usually wear a decent amount of cologne. Like I said, I shower quite a bit. Like I said, if I ever have a 6-pack, I'll do that Testament cosplay. But I'd rather, do that kind of cosplay if I have a 6-pack. Like, I'm not about to, like, go out and... Granted, I'd still be wearing the black faceless mask, because I don't want people to vomit seeing my fucking face, because so many people, like I've had certain best friends that tried to, like, cheer me up on certain things. And, like, kind of out of the blue, one guy was like, yeah, Lunar, you're actually a really great, awesome guy and everything. It just sucks your face looks like that. I'm like, okay, thanks. I appreciate it. That's the thing. Like, I mean, in general, I tend to be a very stoic person. I don't really talk about my feelings in person or in real life. Granted, there was a few times in the past, people died. Like, my sister had a brain aneurysm 14 years ago, and, well, she died, and I kind of felt kind of sad about that. So between that and some other things that were going on at the same time, my usual bottling everything up approach, I wasn't okay with. So I annoyed my best friends. I talked their ears off, and I think I annoyed the fucking shit out of them. But I appreciate that they listened to me. I really, really needed that. But yeah, it's just... And heck, that's a bit of a concern I have sometimes, like, whether or not, like, my brain health will go. Just because, I mean, that and heck, about, what? It was about, a month and a half before I was hospitalized for my, swelling of the brain stuff, that, my mom had 3 strokes and an aneurysm. For about a couple months, she was slurring her words, having some poor balance, and had to wear things called eye crutches to be able to keep her eyes open at all. But within 6 months, she made a full recovery. But, heck, I'd say about 12 years ago, I was in a pretty bad car accident. Heck, I've been in several bad car accidents. But I'd say it was about, like, 12 years ago, I got hit by a fucking truck. Then granted, I've been hit by multiple trucks throughout my life. But this one stood out. I mean, the truck was speeding, and it basically went straight into my driver's side, like T-boned me at like 75-something miles an hour, and it's one of those big-ass fucking pickup trucks. My car basically went spinning and flying, and at first when the paramedics were there, like before they got there, there was a dude that was like living there. He has a fence there. And every year, like people, like the intersection's so known for car accidents that every year with the insurance, he has his fence replaced multiple times a year and goes to Las Vegas with the money he gets from the insurance claims multiple times a year. So 3 to 4 to 5 times a year, this man has his fence rebuilt and goes to Las Vegas with the earnings he makes from people like me getting fucking T-boned. There's actually multiple grave markers there from like a half a dozen people that have just, in the past decade before me, die there. So yay, I didn't die. Still fucking hurt, though. I mean, the dude ran out to me, and like, of course, my window's bashed out and everything. Hands me a fucking diaper. And I'm like looking at it. He's like, don't worry, it's clean. It's not used. And so then I put the diaper on the side of my head to, to absorb the bleeding and try to put pressure on it. Eventually the paramedics and fire department people show up, and they go to take a thing to open my door, and I'm like, oh, don't worry, I got it, guys. And I go to open my door, and I'm like, at first I'm like, oh, right, I can't move my left arm. So then I try to like open it with my right arm, and not only can I do anything, but also the door itself is jammed. They couldn't even open the door. They literally had to pry the door open. They basically ripped the door off the fucking hinges out of the car. Though, to be fair, the car was kind of folded in half a little bit. at the point where me exists. So honestly, all things considered, looking at the car, I honestly should have been spaghetti after that fucking impact. Anyway, after they ripped my fucking car door off, that car, they then say they'll help me out, and I'm like, no, because granted, I'm a failure at everything in my fucking life, but I am a guy, I have some pride. Like, no, I can stand up myself. Turns out I couldn't. I went to try to stand up. I couldn't do that. So I was like, yeah, you guys gotta have to do that, which felt embarrassing as fuck. Heck, another thing that was embarrassing is like, granted about like, 4-something years after that, when I had the swelling of the brain, when I went to the hospital for that, I thought I was having a heart attack, but yeah, eventually they had to like be able to pull my pants down to like, so I could pee and stuff, because I couldn't do it myself. My body was just, I also have to tell you, this fucking spinal taps fucking suck. They were pumping me full of all sorts of chemicals on that time so I wouldn't fucking die. But, because apparently my brain and spine were swelling but that's a different thing. Though, it wasn't until, after my divorce, I eventually put 2 and 2 and figured out, like, oh, right. And everyone's like, why didn't you figure out that one thing earlier? Yeah, the swelling of the brain probably impeded my ability. Like, I actually texted a couple friends from that hospital thing, and it was mainly just, I couldn't put a word together. I was just typing gibberish. Heck, for a while there, when that situation happened, which was like 8 years ago or something, I couldn't even sit up for more than 30 seconds before the pressure on my head was too bad that I basically collapsed back into and of course they had IVs in me, pumping me full of all sorts of like fucking everything. But back to the thing that was like, 4 years before that, so like 12 years ago or something. But yeah, they put me in the paramedic thing, take me to the hospital, and of course my head's bleeding quite a bit. And my left arm is like, I can't move it myself, but it's shaking like crazy. Like my left arm is basically having a fucking seizure. Anyway, so I'm at the hospital, and they're stapling my head back. At least I don't think the bone got damaged. But they're like putting like a dozen plus staples along the left side of my head. And there's a cop, which, later on people tell me that it was just your average cop. He was a white guy in a police uniform having me sign a ticket. Basically, I was being fined $200 for being hit by a truck, because technically it was considered failure to yield at a stop sign, even though, 1, the guy who hit me was speeding, and 2, that intersection is literally known for that as a major thing. So it's kind of a dick move. But that being said, the reason why I bring up the guy's race and everything is like, he was a white guy in a police uniform who I was seeing as an overweight black man in a Hawaiian shirt, having me sign a ticket. To be fair, I had received a very strong blow to the head and was still actively bleeding and having it stapled while I was being signed a ticket. In an emergency room. Literally in the emergency room, having my head stapled with blood still coming out of my head. Couldn't move my left arm at all, aside from the fact that it was having like a seizure fucking shit. Signing a thick thing. Like, fuck you. But yeah, so I leave that, and they give me some Vicodin. I have like a dozen something staples along the left side of my head, and all of my ribs were bruised. To the point that just sitting up was a bit painful to do. And yeah, my legs from the waist to my toes, I had like purple and black bruises everywhere, and I couldn't move my left arm for a couple months. So that sucked. Funny thing is, I went, I think that day or the next day to see the car at the junkyard. I was looking at my airbag, and I was seeing this white airbag covered in red stuff everywhere, to where there was more red on the airbag than there was white. And I'm like, what kind of fucking moron makes a decorative airbag? Like, why the fuck would you decorate this? Like, when is somebody going to see this? Like, what, were you trying to make a fucking tie-dye American flag? And again, to be fair about me being so stupid about what was happening with that, I had just received a very strong blow to the head and had Vicodin in my system. That being said, at least after 30 seconds, eventually it just clicked in my head, like I understood. Like, oh, it's a white airbag. It's not decorated. It's a white airbag covered in my blood. Gotcha. But, main point being is just like, I've had some blows head and some other things that have caused, and it's just the fact that family history of some heart attacks and strokes and stuff. So concerns on that. And I mean, here's the thing. When I was working, I was having chest pains all the time. Literally every second of my job, I was having cluster headaches, and I was having nonstop chest pains and trouble breathing, even with the asthma inhalers and the testosterone gel and stuff, just to keep me from falling apart. Like I'm pretty much made out of fucking paper mache, it felt like at that point. And then I'd be home, I'd just be, whether I was recording a video or laying in bed, my knees would be constantly throbbing in pain. I would having constant chest pains just laying in bed. At least now, I don't have that. That being said, like, I was doing the leg press at the gym, and it's not like I'm doing a massive amount of weight, okay? But I did take about 10 minutes just to sit there because I was starting to have really bad chest pains while I was trying to do that leg press. Because I was doing a couple sets of leg press, and then I just had to stop for a while because my chest was like really hurting a lot. And like I said, here recently, about earlier this week, I went 3 days, 72 plus hours. I didn't eat anything except for like a couple jars of pickles. And I was down to 213 pounds. And then since then, I think I've gotten some Taco Bell, and I've got some chocolate cake, which I call Goff lasagna. But I wanted some chocolate cake, and aside from that, I've drank a little bit of kefir, which is cultured milk stuff. It's like yogurt, but you drink it. I think it's supposed to be healthy for you. But in general, my flexibility shit, my cardio shit, my heart and lung health shit, energy is garbage. I don't have any muscle. I have way too much fat. You could probably take one look at me and assume I never lifted a fucking weight in my life. And though the problem is, I go to the gym, and one, I feel discouraged because I feel like I make no progress. I feel like I can't do anything right, and I feel like everything I try to do I fail at, whether it's athleticism or not, and I've never been athletic in my life. And it's just, the question is, what's sustainable? How can you make progress? And of course, I want to make progress really fast. And in the day, there are no shortcuts. But the shortcuts is okay, I'll just go through this really hard workout idea. And in the day, my body can't fucking handle it. And in the end, then I'm just spending a week not really working out that much at all. And eating a bit of junk food. And then, of course, now you've gained some more fat and you've lost more muscle, and you've made negative progress. So, and my laptop's making a noise. I don't know if you can hear that, but again, it's not that bad of a noise. There was a point 2 months ago where it was making a super high pitched whirring noise, to where I thought it was going to explode. And I was like, okay, guys, I might not be able to ever make videos ever again unless I buy a new laptop. Which again, I mean, it's been 3.5 or so years since I bought this laptop. So that's not bad. I should end the video running about an hour. Everyone's like, what was the point of this video? Main point is, I'm going to have to start working again soon, and I'm not sure what's sustainable in terms of a healthy diet or healthy exercise workload. I want to improve. I want to make improvements, but I don't want to injure myself. I want to build some muscle and lose fat, and I want to, one, aesthetically be more good looking, but also I want to be healthier. I want to be stronger. I want to be more capable, functional strength and health, as well as I want to, improve my longevity in terms of how long I'll live, in terms of good health, maybe live to be 90 or some shit. But yeah, just trying to make improvements, and well, in general, I've been failing. In general, I'm kind of a failure at everything. And And like I said, I know it's not worth much. I'm not some successful person. I've said this multiple times by now. But even if you're a failure like me, I want you to keep trying, okay? Because no matter what, I'm going to keep trying. At most, like I said, I went the 3 days, didn't eat much other than pickles, and then strained both my calf muscles. I spent a couple days like eating Taco Bell and basically just reading books. So obviously, health-wise, I'm not athletic, and I am a complete failure. But no matter what, I'm going to keep trying. Maybe one day I'll be able to say to you guys, like, hey, look, I'm successful. Look how much I can bench and shit. But I don't know when or if that'll ever happen. I mean, I try to be like, yeah, it will, and I can be confident, and, try to be like, yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm not really sure. Like, I want to, and I'm trying, but most time I go to the gym, I just get hurt over and over, and then there's so many times like I'm like a leg press thing. I was doing that and I had to stop because my chest was hurting too badly. I mean, at least now I don't have chest pains just sitting here. But I mean, the fact you're lifting weights and it's like, okay, my chest hurts. I can put my fingers to my jugular vein in my neck and I can feel beep, 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 like I can feel the pulse being like really fast. And it's like, and then, of course, like I said, I mean, I'm not lifting much, and I can feel, like, both the muscles as well as tendons and stuff. Like, I feel the difference and stuff, and where, like, my body will shake a bit afterwards because the muscles are too worn down. And then occasionally I'll walk, and I'll feel a sharp stabbing pain sometimes in, like, the legs or something. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to injure myself. And it's like, whether or not I recover or not. And another thing is this. Like I said, I was taking the testosterone gel because, the doctors felt I needed it. And, of course, it was the only thing really keeping me from falling apart when I was working. Even then, that still wasn't enough. And, of course, I was trying to really focus on the muscle building and stuff at the first because, I still had that stuff. And I didn't know how long. And at first, initially, I was the plan just to, have those 2 months at max and before getting another job. And it's just, I kept putting it off because I kept getting hurt. I kept pulling muscles. I kept hurting something. And then I was like, well, one, I need to give myself time to recover. And then I was like, okay, well, I want to at least improve a little bit because I have all this extra time to work on things. So I'm going to try to do it. And at the end of the day, it's like I tried and I failed. But I'm going to keep trying, though I'm going to have a lot more responsibilities and other things I need to do at the same time. And the fact that I couldn't succeed at this stuff when I had the free time, it really makes me worried about if I'll ever be capable of doing it at all. Especially given what I could be doing for work. I mean, especially if I was doing another job like what I was doing. Honestly, I'm not even sure if my body can handle that anymore. Because like I said, I had to quit that job. Not only was I absolutely miserable and that job's not sustainable. And honestly, that job, that company's going to go bankrupt itself. So no matter what, I was going to be out of a job. But it's just, with the way I was moving like that, like I was having to move quickly while the standing manual labor and doing semicircle turns over and over, it was killing my knees. Like my knees were throbbing in pain even when I wasn't doing anything. Like even when I was laying down. I was either going to die of a fucking heart attack, a stroke, or I was going to seriously hurt something in a way that I wouldn't be able to recover. Because at least with the little bit of tendonitis shit I got from all that jogging I did, I was able to just recover with a few weeks or so of just rest. Which again, part of me feels ashamed and angry at myself for that because I'm like, oh, you should have been working at stuff. But at the same time, I need to be able to recover. It doesn't, my goal is to be physically stronger and to be healthier. And at the end of the day, you're not going to get physically stronger if you get injured. And of course, if I were to have some sort of serious injury, I can't really go to the doctor because I don't have medical insurance. That's part of the reason why I jabbed a fucking butter knife into my toes to fix a fucking ingrown toenails. I literally was coming home before I got to that point, I was like coming home from going to walks on the bike trail, and I'd take my shoes and socks off, and there would be blood coming out of my toes. So then I'm like, oh, eventually I'm okay, I got to fix this. And I can't really afford to go to the doctor at that point, so I'm just going to fix it myself. And here's the thing. Like I said, I haven't been able to take the testosterone gel for a couple months, which obviously has probably not been beneficial for, exercise or, health in general. And here's the thing. When I do start working again, I'll have medical insurance again, and I'm like, one, I'm not sure if I'm going to start taking that gel again or not, if I should. Obviously the doctors would encourage it and think I would say I should, but I'm not sure. At that point, over a year ago, because I took it for a year, is that one, I definitely needed it in order to be able to just stay functional as a human being. I was falling apart. I was chugging energy drinks to wash down caffeine pills, Advil, and Tylenol just to keep going because of the way that fucking job was. And like I said, it's not even the worst job I was ever at. It was just, I was miserable and I fucking hated it. But I'd worked jobs that were far worse, that paid less. But at least thanks to all that fucking overtime, I was able to have some savings put back to be able to, and granted, it's not like I waste a bunch of money on things. Granted, at least when I was working, I would sometimes buy some anime or something, or some, anime books. Now it's just I spend money on rent, child support, electricity, car pay, insurance stuff. Beyond that, I'll buy some Steam cards, and I've gone to some restaurants from time to time, like an Applebee's or something. Aside from that, I'll buy some junk food or Little Caesars. What can I say? I like pepperoni pizzas and I like Pepsi. And I know that's not really healthy for me, and especially if I'm trying to lose fat and be all athletic and shit, but I like drinking an ice cold Pepsi. I like eating a cookie or going to Dairy Queen and having ice cream. But and of course, if you guys got any advice about stuff, if any of you out there have workout plans that you guys do, or what you guys consider to be healthy food to eat, I'll at least read it and I'll consider it. And more than likely, in all honesty, what I'll probably do is I'll use bits and pieces of it here and there. But more than likely, I'll probably still eat some fast food from time to time, and I'll still, take some off days for recovery. But I'm not sure if I'll get back on the testosterone gel because like I said, the doctors will want me to, because they definitely feel I need it. But I don't know if I will or not. And even then, it's not like that's enough for me to build muscle in of itself. Part of me is considering, should I just let them start jabbing me with the fucking needles for it? Which I'll tell you this, I hate fucking needles. And as I've gotten older, I've had to get jabbed with needles more and more to get medicines to just keep me alive. Especially sometimes they're okay, this nutrient you're really low in, and we need to get this in your system because your organs fucking need it. Or multiple times you need to go to there are so many times I've been in the fucking emergency room where they're IV pumping me full of shit to keep me from dying. Apparently my body sucks at maintaining any amount of magnesium that apparently you need in order to not die. And I'll tell you this, it's a weird sort of fear thought I have. But you guys ever sit there with the fucking IVs in you and you imagine your arm's just gonna suddenly split open in the fucking fifth Saw movie? Imagine a fucking dull box knife cutting through wet cardboard. That's how I imagine my arm's just gonna start splitting open. But yeah, part of me is okay, am I not physically capable of building muscle? Do I need to just let them start jabbing me with fucking needles? And I'll tell you this, it was really shitty having that fucking bladder surgery thing. Because initially, when they first told me about it, like a couple years ago, you know, my bladder was having trouble working. And sometimes it would take me like 5 minutes to go pee. First, it'd be like 5 minutes to stand there to try to make pee come out. And then I would just stand there as piss just dribbled out of my fucking cock. Because my fucking bladder wouldn't work right. And then, of course, their initial description of a surgery, which I mentioned in like a video called Angry Stream, where they were initially telling me they were going to have to like cut my taint open, pull out my bladder, and do reconstructive surgery for like 4 fucking hours before they shoved my organs back up me and sew my taint shut. And then at that point, I would have to keep a catheter in me for 14 days straight. Which I'll tell you this, given the way my body responded to the minor surgery, I'm pretty sure I would have just died on the fucking table from that. I don't think my internal organs or my cardiovascular health can handle being sedated that long. Because I'll tell you this, for a long time, I was like, I'll just hold off on that for as long as I can until I don't have a choice anymore. Because that sounded like some out of fucking horror movie. And I was like very upset at all of that. And that was also no reason I was saving up money, because I put money back to have at least an expectation of 6 weeks of not having work or something, because I was like expecting to not be able to function as a human being pretty much. And eventually they tell me like, okay, there's a minor, lesser version of the surgery that's far less invasive. And they told me that they reevaluate it and has a higher chance of success than what they originally were thinking. So I wound up doing that back in like October of 2023. So I was like, what? It's October, so November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So it was so 7.5 months ago, I had the bladder surgery, which had me. The plan was for me to be sedated for an hour, but I wasn't conscious until about, like, originally the plan was for me to be sedated and under for about an hour. But in the end, it turned out I was like under for like 2 hours. And I don't think I was like really aware of everybody else until I was like 5 hours later. And like I said, my dad drove me and my mom there. And then he went home and me and my mom stayed there. And he came back to pick me and mom up. And my mom stayed for 3 days and 3 nights over here. Because, heck, the first night I had my mom drive me out to the emergency rooms because, one, there was some blood going into the catheter, into the bag. And also there was blood coming out of my cock around the catheter tube. And so I wanted to make sure that, hey, that wasn't anything serious that, one, might have a bad effect on me, especially that being a sensitive area of my body that I kind of care about. And also, it's a concern that maybe, am I going to die? Also, I was in a shit ton of pain. And I was like, can you give me morphine? Which the fucking doctor there, she won. Because I had the surgery in the big city, whereas I went to the local emergency room for this. And they were looking at me like they were offended that I wanted morphine. And they told me no. I was like, also, for some reason, like, the person thought I was going to hurt them. I'm like, I can barely stand up. It took me 10 minutes to get out of the fucking car in order to get into the fucking place to go sit in a fucking wheelchair. Okay? And it's not like I had a normal catheter up my dick, which would be bad enough as is. One, I had a surgery to the point that when I had all this blood coming out of me, they're like, yeah, that's normal. You're supposed to have that happening. I'm like, is it supposed to hurt? I'm like, yeah, it's supposed to hurt. So can you give me morphine? No. Fuck you guys. Heck, but like at one point she's acting like I was going to like hurt her or something. I'm like, I can't get out of a wheelchair hardly. I am pretty much crippled. I wouldn't be able to do anything to anyone. Like, I am basically an invalid at this point. I'm like one step away from being fucking just I forget the word for it, the word where you can't leave your bed, which I'll tell you this, by day 2, I was at that point because my body was just freaking out from the whole experience to the point that I literally spent 22 hours straight of the second day awake, but laying in bed, turned to the right at a 45-degree angle, with my body just sort of somewhat curled up, somewhat straight, as I was just not willing to really move. And I was just occasionally draining my fucking piss bag into a bucket. And a couple times I had to have my mom drain just dump the bucket because I couldn't do it. And granted, if I had fallen down or anything, there's no chance in hell my mom would have been able to help me up, even if I wasn't in a situation where I had stuff in me. But it's just, she at least was able to drive me somewhere, because there's no way, because they won't let you drive places, with a tube, inside of your body. Also, they don't want people who have been recently brought out of anesthetic to be driving down a freeway. Well, I said, my dad drove us there, picked us up from the place in the big city for the surgery, and then, of course, my mom drove me out to that emergency room in town that first night because it was just, my body was really upset. And like I said, it was not your average catheter because it had to be special, because I pretty much had the least invasive version of the surgery possible, which honestly, if I had anything more, I think I would have just died on that fucking operating table. And also, I couldn't imagine having that tube in me for 14 days straight. Because I'll tell you this, I had it in me for over 48 hours, and even that, the last 24 hours at 72 hours, even though I had that thing out of me by that point, I was still in a lot of pain and still very, very weakened. And I'll also tell you this, for that first week, every time I went to go pee, I was screaming in fucking pain. But I'll tell you this, the length of that tube, first off, it was thicker than your average catheter because, I had the urethra dilated as well as part of the bladder. It was necessary in order to keep my internal organs from exploding. But anyway, this tube is the thickness of a fucking number 2 pencil, and it's up my dick. And I measured it after I pulled it out of me. And of course, it was being kept with a Foley catheter because it's basically means that the innermost part of the catheter that's inside your fucking bladder has an extra layer around it that has it inflated like a balloon with 10 milliliters of fluid holding this balloon, in a increased size inside your bladder. There were 2 valves on the outside of this thing, one to connect to my piss bag, and the other that was specially made for using a sort of syringe that's not a needle, but it's still a syringe, but the ones that don't have needles, to where you can manually drain the fluid because it's the only way to be able to remove it out of you. Anyway, after the 48 hours of having that thing in me, which I measured after I pulled it out of me, which I'll tell you this, is the thickness of a number 2 pencil, and from the part of it that was inside me, from the tip of my dick to inside my bladder, there was 14 inches deep of something the thickness of a fucking number 2 pencil up my dick. When I first went, before I could remove it, I had to use that little syringe thing to remove the 10 milliliters of fluid inflating the balloon inside my bladder. Then I stood naked inside my fucking shower, initially to pull it out of me, and I had to stop because everything went a dark shade of black and gray with some red tints, like I was fucking dying in Gears of War. As I lost all feeling in my body and my extremities, and I basically had to prop myself against the wall so that I wouldn't just instantly collapse into an unconscious pile of mush. Then after waiting 5-10 minutes or so until I can, feel my limbs, I then stepped out of the shower, sat on my toilet, and then proceeded to slowly yank a tube out of my dick. I don't think you understand how fucking miserable or pissed off I felt about that. On the one hand, I was very glad to be able to get it out of me. On the other hand, it was an absolutely horrible experience. And like I said, I was screaming in pain every time I peed for the next week. And of course, for that first days or two after that, my body was still in a very weakened state, and then the inside of my abdominal area still fucking hurt. And at that point, they had to give me I had Advil, Tylenol, oxycodone, and I'm like, I'm still in fucking pain. To where it's not manageable. That was fucking miserable. I used 5 vacation days, not medical leave. When I was at work, I used 5 vacation days to have a week off work. And then the moment I get back from work, they're like, okay, 60 hours a week, 60 hours a week, overtime. You need to hit these quotas, fucking yelling and bitching at me. I'm like, guys, I just had a fucking bladder surgery. Can you please not try to kill me immediately? And you're like, well, we fell behind when you were out. I'm like, I'm sorry. Are you blaming the conditions of what happened at work when I wasn't here, when I was fucking in a hospital? Fuck you. All I am is just some fucking disposable tool. I'm here, I'm on time, I work my ass off, and even that before that and after that, I was using all these fucking energy drinks and shit in order to hit these quotas. I'm literally working my absolute hardest, giving everything I have to hit these quotas for you, to do the absolute best job possible. And you just keep increasing the quotas. You just keep bitching at me. I'm like, it's not possible to do a better job. And it's just the fucking assholes about everything. And there was no future in that company. They weren't even giving people raises anymore. Heck, they were even starting having rumors about having to try to cut people's pay. I'm like, at that point, fuck you guys. I'm not going to stay at a job that's treating me like shit. When, one, you're not even paying me that much for what I'm doing. And at that point, it's not worth it. What does it value me to make that extra money from all that overtime and shit in a shitty situation if in the end of the day I'm just going to have a fucking heart attack? At the end of the day, there are people that actually do die at that place from heart attacks. We do actually have people, usually about 1 or 2 a year, that die of a fucking heart attack in that job. I'm just glad I'm out of that job. I am worried about the future in terms of money and paying for shit. But like I said, when I do get another job, I don't know if I'm going to be taking the testosterone gel again. I mean, technically, doctors think I need it, and my blood work says I need it. And obviously, but I've at least gone these past couple months without it, and I'm not dead. I'm just not. And granted, it's not like I was building muscle before. Then again, I was working myself to death in a fucking factory. And I don't know what I'll be doing in the future. Beyond that, it's just... I don't even know if I'll take the gel, but I don't know if it's possible for me to build any muscle unless I just start having them jam me full of needles of all sorts of things, including just straight up the hardcore steroids. There's a difference between giving me a little bit of gel for testosterone replacement therapy because my body apparently wants to die more than my depression wants me to. But at the same time, it's just it's not, it was just keeping me from falling apart. It was literally just keep me from falling apart like I'm made out of something like paper mache or Raditz. But at the end of the day, I'm not even sure if it's possible for me to get in shape. And everyone's like, well, it probably doesn't help that you're not consistent with working out, or that you're repeatedly injured, or that you eat a bunch of fast food, and heck, you recently bought a chocolate cake. And I'll tell you, it was delicious. I love the fucking Goff lasagna. It was delicious. So was the Taco Bell. I want to get a Little Caesars pizza. Okay? I like ice cold Pepsi. And I like some juice. Things like orange juice or dragon fruit juice or passion fruit juice. Those things they got at Walmart. That's nice. Heck, I'm not much of a coffee drinker, but sometimes I get those chocolate cream coffees that are in cans next to the jugs of water. That's awesome. I usually get like one of those and I buy like 4 or 5 jugs of water to take home, because all the water that comes out of my fucking faucet tastes like I'm pretty sure there's like, I need to get one of those testing kits. I need to figure out where I can get. I think I can get those things for free. I think there are places that do testing of water that I can call up. I need to look that up. I need to like get one of those testing kits, because I'm pretty sure there are places that'll send it to me for free to test my fucking tap water. Because I don't, unless I'm like putting water in a fucking tea kettle, because I'll put the water from my faucet into a kettle to like brew tea or hot cocoa, or, you know, brush my teeth. And of course I fucking shower in my tap, like, you know, water stuff. But I'm just saying, aside from brushing my teeth or showering or washing my hands or brewing tea or hot cocoa, if I'm going to drink water, I drink it from jugs I buy from like Walmart. But I need to buy a fucking testing kit, because something tastes really fucking weird with my water, to where it's just, there's something wrong with it. It tastes absolutely disgusting. And so I just don't drink it unless it's like brewed in my tea in my kettle or something. But I need to get a testing kit to test that shit. Like, something's got to be fucking wrong with it. But I like juice. Sometimes I'll get like jugs of whole milk and stuff. Maybe add some Hershey syrup and stir that in and have some chocolate milk. It's nice. Or sometimes I'll like I don't drink alcohol, but I'll buy like multiple things of juice, and I'll like mix like pineapple juice with orange juice. I'm basically making mixed drinks, but no alcohol. Like I said, there's a fucking zombie. You know, there's a zombie that drinks a bunch of mead. He does YouTube channel videos. I listen to his stuff. I disagree with some of his stances on stuff, but all in all, I support the man, and I think he's a good guy. And he's definitely, as long as you trust everything he says about his physical fitness, he's definitely very successful at that. But then again, he was somebody who's in football and lifting his whole life. And whereas me, I've never been athletic. I was in Boy Scouts. I mean, I spent most of my time in high school between, I did calculus, physics, chemistry, got a 4.0. I did school. I got bullied a lot. I worked a full-time job at a restaurant. I did Boy Scouts, got Eagle Scout. So, but yeah, I spent most of my time playing video games and anime and Dragon Ball Z, and I like what I like. I like anime. You know, I have also a bit of an obsessive, addictive personality. Like, let's say I couldn't imagine not watching anime or having air conditioning. Heck, I enjoy playing my guitar, but I'm absolutely garbage at it. And then again, I don't play it that often. Most of the time, I'm like, I'll just rather just sit and watch like Overlord, Eins Ul Gone. Albedo from Overlord is very sexy. Maybe at some point I'll like do a copy, like the print screen thing of my computer screen, so you guys can see my wallpaper. It's just Albedo, but you know, in lingerie. Though I'll have to you guys won't be able to see the full picture just because it didn't, when you set it to the desktop background, it didn't show the whole thing there, because it's, you know, the laptop is a long horizontally screen, you know, the way screens are, whereas the picture is a long vertical thing, so it's resized in a way that honestly I like, but the full version of it I can't really show on YouTube anyway, because it would be, well, hentai pretty much. But yeah, I think a Dragon Ball Z fusion of Albedo from Overlord and Roll Casket from Mega Man Legends would be a very attractive woman with a very wholesome personality. But yeah, aside from me gushing over magical girls, yes, I don't know if anyone gets the reference, but main point is I like beautiful anime women. But Albedo is very pretty. Though I do like the way she is toward manga in the game. Though it's interesting, there's a lot of light novels, including ones that have nothing to do with the main story of the anime, like the Vampire Princess one. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, just the way she is toward the manga, that's nice. Then again, the way Monica is in Doki Doki Literature Club, honestly, is the most emotionally supportive, caring woman I've ever had in my life. So, then again, I don't remember what hugs feel like. I mean, I see my son when I do, but I usually give him like 2 10-second hugs every time I see him and tell him I love him. Aside from that, I'll see my mom usually about once or twice a month, and I'll give her 1 5-second hug during that time. So aside from that, I don't really remember what human contact feels like. So if anyone feels like listening to the lonely loser fat otaku who can't build muscle and fails at everything in life and has been through a divorce, has terrible depression, has a Pepsi addiction, and constantly just goons over anime characters because awesome anime women are sexy. Also, I'm bisexual and I like futanari and femboys. So, like, I'm finding out every way to just make everyone on the internet lands hate me. It's like, okay, here's this annoying, boring person who's a failure of a human being and is just ugly as fuck and poor and fat and weak and fucking failure at everything and can't just do anything right, and tends to just be sad and cry and talks to a computer because he has no one else to talk to other than fucking stuffed animals and fucking trees when he's walking on bike trails. So, aside from me sounding like the most pathetic loser, incel, whatever in the world, I do appreciate you for there listening to me. I mean, honestly, I have no idea why you'd be listening to me. I mean, I mainly make this channel because, you know, I like Let's Plays. I enjoyed watching like Ultra J-Man and all those guys in the past. And I just enjoyed the videos. I enjoy video games. In general, the initial intention was to be a Let's Play channel but focus on comedy. But it's basically become a place for me to be able to talk without a filter and just not feel like I'm completely fucking alone in the world. And I can just talk about whatever's on my mind. And yes, some of it's probably offensive to people. People probably think I'm some hateful, evil, extremist person or something. And yeah, I understand I have some opinions that could be considered extreme in some people's opinions. I'm not going to apologize for having an opinion. I mean, I'm open for discussions with people. I mean, as long as people are polite and respectful and they're not like yelling racial slurs or some shit, I'm cool with talking to people. At the end of the day, I'm just a person who wants to be able to talk to people, and I'm just trying to get through life. And I'm just being honest with everyone and just, you know, sharing my thoughts and feelings and even sharing the videos I watch online of other people. You know, so you guys like know basically more about me, and I can be like, hey, look, here's this blind Let's Play of Sonic the Hedgehog or Crash Bandicoot or Spyro or something, or Super Mario World. Heck, Super Mario World's a great game. If it's ever on Steam, I'll fucking Let's Play it, but I'm against ever getting an emulator. But I'll say this. Lots of my family and people have their issues and their problems, and I do have my grievances on things. But when it's all said and done, I'll say this. I would say the only 2 people right now I'd love in this whole world are my mom and my son. And I'd say my mom, I love my mom very, very much. And honestly, out of all the humans on the planet, I feel I can trust my mom the most. The only reason I can't say that about my son is because he's a child. You know, whereas my mom, I'll say this, she's an adult. Granted, she's got her problems, and she's definitely fallen short of being perfect in many ways. that I really don't want to talk about. That being said, I'll say this. My mom loves me, and like I said, she was here for 3 days and 3 nights when I had that bladder surgery, and I really did appreciate that. Aside from that, there are many times throughout my life, especially my childhood, where, of course, my mother was there for me. And I really appreciate every single memory. Like, I have a Polaroid from back when I was 3rd grade, when I had to do a thing next to a creek for a science project. And I still have that Polaroid. So, I think most people have a few pictures of their parents. So that's not really out of the ordinary. I'm just saying, I remember everything, and there certainly were some bad things in regard to every single human being I've ever interacted with in my life, especially in my childhood. I would say there's like a dozen PTSD type things from every single decade of my life. Especially when I was in school, I got bullied a lot. But I'll say this. My mom's not perfect, but I love my mom very much. I trust my mom more than any other human on the planet. Whenever my mom does die, I'm going to be extremely sad. And I'll miss her a lot. And I hope she doesn't die for, as long as possible. Even if she starts getting, cyborg parts, and if it lets her live to be like 200, sure. And like I said, there's lots of things that I don't want to talk about with things in the past, but all in all, she is the human being on the planet that actually loves and cares about me the most. And even though there's lots of things I haven't talked to her about, she knows more about me than anyone else on the planet. And like I said, I love my mom very much. And she was there for me on a lot of things growing up. And I really appreciate it. I really appreciate every time she was there for me. And heck, I remember she cooked a lot when I was younger. She was really good at cooking. And I would sit in the kitchen and talk to her when she was cooking. And I liked that. I appreciated that. And granted, she was never good at video games. But, she'd sit and play like Super Mario 1 and Super Mario 3 and Spyro the Dragon, the first one, and Croc Legend of Gobos and Crash Bandicoot 2, and even a bit, Robo Warrior. I'd say out of all the games that she liked to play a bit of Robo Warrior, most in the other games. But, she'd like to play like the Mario games and stuff with me, and we'd take turns. Granted, she was never really all that good at it. But I didn't care about that. I just was glad she was spending time with me. I was glad to be sitting next to my mom and playing a game with her. That's what I cared about most. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the games a lot. Heck, I still play Sonic the Hedgehog 2. 1, 2, 3. And I'll tell you this, I'm absolutely garbage at the game. I am so bad at it. I get game overs over and over and over again, to where if I want to play the later levels, I have to use the fucking debug mode and go to later levels in the game. But I still enjoy it. It's fun. I'm terrible at it. I'm awful at the game. I'm absolutely horrible at it. But I enjoy playing it. And I'll say this. I am much better at the games than my mom is. But even though I'm kind of crap at the games, and she was especially bad at them, to where a lot of the later levels I had to be the one to beat, I just enjoyed that she was sitting next to me playing the games with me. I just was happy spending time with my mom. She's not perfect, and there are many questionable things from my childhood that were not the greatest. But I love my mom and accept her flaws and all. And I would not trade my mom for any other mom on the entire planet. I love my mom very much. And I really do appreciate every memory I have of spending time with her. But yeah, I'm not sure what the future holds on so many things. And like I said, when I do get a job again, I have medical insurance again, I don't know if I'll be taking the testosterone gel again. I mean, the doctors will want me to, but I don't know if I should. I don't know if I have to at this point, given the fact that I did at least take it for a year, or how it'll affect me, the fact that I went like a couple months without it, given whenever I do start being able to, because it'll take like a week or so for medical insurance to really kick in, I think. But, and I don't know if I would ever take the fucking needles. Jesus. And then, of course, doctors been wanting to tell me to take antidepressants for like 20 years or so. Longer than that, I think. Well, at least over a couple decades. It's at least over 20 years. Doctors been trying to tell me to take antidepressants. And I don't know if I should. I don't know if I will. I mean, one, I'm worried, like, if something would happen in the future, if I just wouldn't be able to afford it, or I might lose medical insurance again, and then I suddenly would be able to take, because I know that stuff's very serious, that, once you start taking it, you're supposed to have to constantly take it. That it's one of those things that once you start taking it, if you stop, it's going to, fuck you up. And then there's the fact that I don't want to be dependent on chemicals. But at the same time, I'm not sure, doctors have been wanting me to take it for, over 2 decades now. And heck, I have fibromyalgia, which again does not help when it comes to physical fitness or health. And apparently the most effective thing that is supposed to help with that condition is also the same antidepressants that they want me to take for, depression and stuff. Like I said, and here's the thing, I don't know if I have autism or ADHD. I mean, you can't really trust an online test like you're taking a fucking anime Naruto, which Naruto character, anime character are you, personality quiz. But I would say in general, personality quizzes usually would say I have a INFJ personality. So basically I have the same personality as, say, Shinji Ikari from Evangelion, or Chrono Gorgon from Soul Eater. Heck, I would describe my personality as a Dragon Ball Z fusion of Chrono Gorgon from Soul Eater and Vash the Stampede from Trigun. Or, heck, I would describe my personality as a Dragon Ball Z fusion of, say, Testament and Vegeta, or Tsukasa from Dot Hack Sign and Goku, or Astolfo and Jack Hanma. Imagine that. Imagine a Dragon Ball Z fusion of Astolfo and Jack Hanma. That's at least my personality. Now, as far as my physical appearance, imagine Lavos from fucking, Chrono Trigger. Heck, I made a video once called The Fear of Lunar D8. Basically a way of describing my feelings in regard to how I feel I look to people. Or I made a video called Face Reveal, which kind of the same line in regard to that. Like I said, I might include those links. The main link I'll include will be the open up video where it's me singing in my car, but the audio is going to be horrible for that. So again, don't wear earbuds. But that's one thing I do want to try to encourage people on, is that if you need to, talk about your feelings. Now, granted, there's going to be a lot of people that won't give a shit about your feelings or don't want to hear it or actively hate you. But end of the day is this. Also, if something's bothering you, it's important to try to take measures to make it better. Take actions to improve whatever's wrong. But at the end of the day, if talking about it makes you feel better, that's good. Especially if it can help you to not take negative responses to things, whether it be anything potentially harmful to yourself or harmful to others. It'd be better you talk about it than not in those situations. But like I said, it's more so me just trying to tell people to be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Try to take better care of your mental health. And if you can, go to the gym. But again, don't get injured. I mean, mean, at least I don't get seriously injured where I need like medical assistance or anything. But there are some people out there that are like professional bodybuilders that will go to the gym and they literally will break bones or have muscles tear so badly they have to have major surgery to repair. At which point I'm not even sure I'd be able to function from that, let alone afford it. But I just want to encourage people that if stuff's bothering you to talk about your feelings. You know, to listen to nightcore music. Like if it makes you feel better, you know, listen to some nightcore music in the dark in front of a box fan and just cry your eyes out while listening to nightcore music laying in your bed. Go walk on a bike trail, play some guitar, play some video games, watch some anime, record your own cringe fucking YouTube channel. Sing some awful, terrible karaoke like I do. Like I said, and not even if you're not going to post anything. I mean, even if it's just by yourself, singing by yourself, and no one's ever going to hear you, fine, it's whatever. It's about expressing yourself. Even if nobody can hear you, even if nobody knows that you're singing at all, even if nobody knows you exist, you can still express your feelings. Spend time in self-reflection, understand yourself better, come to terms with things that you know, that bother you or things from your past. And again, if you can improve things, that's awesome. But sometimes there are things that you can't, at which point all you can do is just keep trying. And there's other things that, whether it's like, say, your mental health, it might be a thing that you pretty much have to do maintenance on for the rest of your life. And I have to say, that doesn't make you a bad person. That if you have to cry from time to time in the privacy of your own home in order to feel well enough to keep going. If it makes you feel better and lets you be stable, or at least the closest to that you can be, then that's fine. I mean, as long as you're not hurting yourself or hurting anyone else, it's fine. And like I said, I'm a failure at everything. I know it'd be more of a nice, you know, motivational speech if it was like, listen to me, I'm some successful person and I'm able to have all this money and I can lift all this weight and do all these great things. You know, do this and you can be like me. No. I'm a complete fucking failure. I'm trying my best. And I'm not succeeding. But I'm always going to keep trying. Granted, I'm still going to sometimes eat junk food and fast food or get some ice cream or get, you know, some ice cold Pepsi. You guys remember Pepsi Max? That was pretty awesome. Where the fuck did that go? There's still got Pepsi Zero Sugar, but like Pepsi Max, it, like my memory, like it tasted different. Then again, you guys remember Volt Energy Soda? They sold like fucking 2 liters of a fucking green energy soda, which definitely tasted interesting. They even had it on tap at Burger King's. But I'll tell you, they probably had to stop that because probably having an energy drink in a 2 liter probably not good for people's health. Heck, they had to change the original recipes of Full Throttle and Rockstar because they had like some sort of off-brand of ephedra in it and it was actually killing people. So, again, same thing with like massive amounts of caffeine. Probably not good for you, but massive amounts of caffeine like guava, taurine, but also ephedra and stuff. I mean, you know, some people were literally having heart attacks from it, even if they didn't have underlying conditions. And I kind of have a health history with family of brain and heart issues. So, something for me to be careful about. And in general, moderation's good. You know, taking care of your health, getting plenty of sleep, you know, trying not to be too stressed, people. You know, and again, whether it's a gym or whatever you're doing, it should supplement your life, not take over it. At the end of the day, you shouldn't feel miserable. But, you know, if you're going to work for anything, it's going to take hard work and dedication to succeed. But at the end of the day is this. There are no shortcuts in anything. And a lot of things you work for are going to take a lot of hard work and they're going to take time. And even then, it's not guaranteed that you're going to succeed. Even if you are the best at it in terms of working hard at it. And at the end of the day is this. Just focus on doing what little bit you can here and there, even if it's baby steps. Even if it's just, go for a few miles, walk here and there, do some benches here and there. Do what you can, even if it's just a little bit. Doing a little bit of physical fitness is better than nothing. Granted, I feel discouraged because I feel like I make no progress. Heck, I feel like I'm making negative progress. I feel like I'm just getting weaker and fatter. And I feel like I'm just getting worse and worse. I look at how much I lift and I just feel ashamed of how weak I am and how little, how what I can bench isn't heavy enough. Like I'm not benching a heavy enough weight. That I'm not able to run fast enough, that I get injured too easily, that I get exhausted too easily, that I can't jog for that long without being completely fucking winded, that I can't even go that fast at all as a top speed, that even just jogging a bit, I injure things and I start falling apart like I'm making out of paper mache or Raditz. That I do a fucking leg press and then I have to stop for like 10 minutes because I'm having chest pains. Like I feel ashamed of not being strong enough, of not being fast enough, of not looking right. Basically being ugly as shit and weak and fat and I'm poor. But it's just like, I don't drink alcohol, but I got a big ass fucking beer gut, obviously from all the soda and ice cream. And I am just... Like I said, I'm 5'11", I'm 218 pounds at the moment. And like I said, I understand there are people that are bigger than me, and I don't mean to try to make you guys feel bad. We all have our improvements to make. It's just, I feel very negative about my own appearance and my own self-worth and about anybody accepting or caring about me or respecting me or would treat me with kindness. And of course, there's a bit of paranoia from a lot of abuse and people being violent and mean to me in the past, and that stuff really sticks with you and it bothers me a lot. I don't think I'll ever be okay. Like I said, there's things from every single decade of my life where very bad things have happened, and I don't know if I will, there's 30 different things that each on their own I don't think I'll ever be okay. And of course, those things all cumulatively are not the happiest in the world. But all in all, it's okay. There's people that have been through worse, but usually those people die. So that's not really a apt comparison. Main point being is I feel like I'm a failure. I feel like I can't do anything right. Well, it's more like I feel like I'm a failure. I am a failure. So I feel like I am a failure, and I am a failure. So that, I don't know. I don't think it makes it any better, but the main point is it's a healthy, ability to notice reality. It's just the reality is I'm a fucking failure, but also I feel bad about it. But I don't know. Like I said, in general, I want people to be kind to themselves, to be kind to others, to do what's best for you. And if you can make your life better, go for it. Yes. As long as you're not hurting yourself or hurting anyone else, whether it's improving your life or just talking about things. I think both are very important to you. And of course, different things work for different people. Some people don't need to talk about their feelings ever. And some people need to take more physical actions in terms of trying to improve their lives. At the end of the day, I think the most important thing for people would be is, talk to your family, talk to your friends, talk to, if you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever. Even if it's just, and also talk to a doctor, whether it's your physical, your family physician or a psychiatrist or a therapist. Honestly, all of those doctors would be very good for you. And heck, even if it's just walking a fucking bike trail and talking to yourself and talking to trees. Even if no one hears you, it's still good for you to be able to talk out loud. It'll make you feel better. And obviously, no matter what, when you work on things, no matter what you're working on, especially when it comes to mental health, you're going to have bad days. And there's going to be some days that are going to be very bad. And sometimes you're going to have multiple bad days in a row. All I can say is just keep trying. You'll get through it. I mean, I don't know if you'll ever be what you think you should be in terms of what you would consider a success. I don't know if it's even possible. I honestly don't think it's possible I'll ever be able to succeed at anything. I have no fucking confidence in myself or in my situations or anything in life. But I'm going to keep trying regardless. So I want all of you to do the same. Just to keep trying and be kind to yourselves. You know? Just take every day one day at a time and just put that little bit of effort in every day. Even if you don't think it's enough. Just keep trying. Just keep going, okay? I don't know how to end videos. I hope everyone out there has a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.